Welcome back, friends. This is Casey with Aligned Astrology again. Today we're going to be talking about the full moon in Cancer. This full moon in Cancer is culminating on January 3rd. Depending on where you are in the world, it may be a day before or a day after. But today we'll talk about that full moon in Cancer and all the things that are incorporated along with it. When we think about a full moon in Cancer, we think about the sign Cancer, which we can correlate with the mother. It is that mother archetype where we think about nurturing, love, and care and support. I always think about a family, a mother supporting and taking care of children or her husband or partner. But when we think about a full moon, it's a time of releasing or a time of letting go. It can also be a time of clarity and realization because the light of the sun is being shined onto the moon. We can see the whole moon. We can have an experience where we can have a lot of insight come in, especially since Cancer is a very intuitive sign. We can look at this full moon sort of like a birth because we have a full moon, we have new moons. So back in this previous summer, 2025. We had a new moon in Cancer, I believe it was June 25th. And Jupiter, which is the planet of exaltation in Cancer, just moved into that sign. So it was conjunct that new moon. So there was a seed being planted back in the summertime. So I'm inviting you to recall your experiences from June up to this point and think about something that you may have been creating, that you've been building, been working on since the summertime, because this is the time, this is the point of fruition or culmination where these things can begin to show themselves, or we may begin to gain emotional experiences or emotional insight around these things. When we look at the full moon, we'll see that we have in the opposition, of course, of the sun. That's what creates a full moon, when the sun and the moon are in opposition from one another. But we also have Mars and Venus in conjunction with the sun. So while we are going to be focused on our emotional stability, emotional well-being, and the support of the loved ones we have in our life, we are also being tugged in different directions, such as wanting to achieve our goals because it's the new year now. Happy New Year. Wanting to achieve our goals and wanting to find that comfort, that stability, that the opportunity for ourselves to create what we love, the things that we want to do for ourselves. So we want to today we're going to start with understanding more about that motherly archetype of Cancer, and noticing that regardless of where the sign of Cancer lands in our own zodiac charts based off our rising sign, we still need to understand that we all need love, we all need support in our experience, and we get it from our loved ones. Can be our families, our friends, our wife, our children, our husbands, our partners. Whatever the case may be, this love, this support is coming from somewhere. And we also need to love and support our own selves, right? The things that we think in our head sometimes aren't always so supportive. So this is an opportunity for us to understand and take into consideration all the things that we think about ourselves, the way we feel about ourselves. So this is an opportunity for us to embody that motherly archetype for ourselves. And as we move into the zodiac and look at the chart, we'll look at all 12 signs and the horoscopes to see where this full moon's affecting each one of us directly. But I want to speak a little bit more about the full moon, since it's accompanied by Jupiter, like I said earlier, which is in its exaltation place in Cancer. And just to speak about exaltation just for a moment, because I speak about a lot of this astrological jargon and don't always explain it. So when we think about the word exaltation in astrology, it is considered to be one of the accidental dignities. So each planet in astrology has dignities. So when a planet has a dignity, it can have a positive dignity or a negative dignity. Like for example, since we have the full moon in Cancer, it's at home. It's in its own domicile. When the moon is in Cancer, it's in a positive dignity. It feels right at home. It operates as itself because the moon and Cancer carry the same energy. But when the moon is in, let's say, the sign of Capricorn, it is as far away from Cancer as it can be. So it is in detriment. It's in a not so positive dignity for itself because it takes on the energy or the characteristics of Capricorn. So we use these dignities to determine the strength or power, the capabilities of the planet in a particular zodiac sign, so we understand and learn how to read the astrology. So back to the understanding of Jupiter being in its exaltation place in Cancer, which, and we can also look at exaltation as like a home away from home or an honored guest. Jupiter's the honored guest in Cancer. So Jupiter, the planet of expansion, the planet of wisdom or order, is in the sign of Cancer, the nurturing structure. The nurturing structure, the archetypal mother in this case. We can see that Jupiter here is creating that foundational structure for us in our experience, depending on where it is in our zodiac. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But Jupiter's been here in the sign of Cancer since June 10th. And like I said earlier, we had our new moon on June 25th. So Jupiter's been moving through this sign. It'll be moving through this sign for 1 year, and it's going to move into Leo this summer around the same time, late June. So we get to have Jupiter in this exaltation place for about 5, 6 more months. Now, that Jupiter, planet of wisdom or truth in this case, is trying to bring something through to us in the sign of Cancer. Right now it's retrograde, so it's like we're taking the opportunity to still rethink these things or put them into practice. But there was something that was planted back in the summer, and there's things that we've been working on, things that we've learned that we will soon be ready to share and create. Right now, with this full moon, we may be going through a lot of emotional challenges, internal challenges, and being pulled in many different directions based off the things that we want to achieve. But right now, with this full moon, it's important to focus on our loved ones, our connections, and make sure that we are giving ourselves all the things that we need to then focus on our goals, our achievements. And like I said before, we have Venus and Mars conjunct the sun. So we need to be moving towards the direction of achieving those goals at the same time while making sure our emotions are in order, our familial support is there, or relational support. So what I'm going to do is pull up the charts now. I'm going to pull up the zodiac so we can go ahead and take a look at that new moon for a moment that we were just talking about that came through June 25th. And then we're going to move into the horoscopes for all 12 zodiacs. So I'm going to cancel the share for a moment and pull it back up so you guys can see my brush. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and go back to June 2025. So June 25, 2025, we're looking at that new moon in the sign of Cancer. And we could see that it was in a close conjunction to the new moon. When we have a planet in close conjunction of new moon or full moon, it is a prominent figure in that experience. And I've spoke about it before. Jupiter can be seen in, like we talked about it in ancient astrology. We talked about Jupiter correlated with Cancer. Jupiter, like with the exaltation place, but Jupiter can be seen kind of like a sperm, right? And Cancer, like the mother. So it's like a fecundation process. This is a seeding point here. There's something that was planted. And as we move through the lunation cycles and we come to our full moon in Cancer, now that thing is coming to fruition. It's that birthing point where we can now bring these things into reality. In traditional astrology, we talk about all 12 zodiac signs, and this is how they gain their the planets in this case. This is how the planets gain their placements. We call this birth chart of the cosmos the thema mundi, and that's when we place the sign Cancer in the first house. And from first house to the seventh house, we find the traditional rulership of all 12 zodiac signs. So placing the moon in the first house, the sun in the second, Mercury in the third, and so on and so forth. It's very interesting to take those things into consideration. But the reason I speak about the birth chart of the cosmos, or the thema mundi, is because we want to understand the full moon in this case, right? Or the sign of Cancer. The sign of Cancer is the mother, but it's birthing spirit into matter. So these things, and this goes back to talking about Cancer as an intuitive sign, right? It has a connection with the internal world, the unseen, the occult, the mystical. So when we have a full moon in Cancer, we can have very vivid dreams, sort of like when we have full moons or new moons in Pisces. We can have very vivid dreams, we can gain clarity and insight. Mystical experiences can come, but it's also an opportunity for us to be emotionally in tune, so we can tap into our heart space, tap into our feelings, and understand the direction that we need to go in based on those. So now I am going to move the chart back to now, and we're going to begin looking at all 12 zodiac signs and the importance of this new moon and how it's affecting us based on our own rising signs. Now, we all have the opportunity to understand our rising signs, but we can also listen to our sun signs as well. The reason I invite you to listen to your rising sign is because horoscopes are created based off of the whole sign house system. We call it horoscopic astrology, which comes from the Hellenistic era. So without whole sign houses, we don't understand, or we cannot really read the horoscopes. It's based off of the houses. Each house is correlated to a different part of our life. So we're going to start by looking at the sign of Aries in the first house, which makes it Aries rising. If you have the sun in the first house in Aries, then you can listen to it and it will make sense. But if you happen to have the sun in Virgo, you're a Virgo, but you're an Aries rising, it's more beneficial to listen to Aries rising to gain a clear understanding of what may be happening in the particular parts of your life. Now, for some reason, the sun sign is more prominent when you listen to it and you gain more from it. Please let me know in the comments. Starting with Aries rising, you're experiencing this full moon in Cancer in the fourth house. Fourth house in astrology is correlated with our home, our foundation, our family. Like I said, it can be like that nurturing mother archetype. But in traditional astrology, it can be seen as the father. Maybe there's a strong emotional tie to our father in this case that may be coming to our awareness that we need to focus on. But we also can understand this fourth house as a place of foundation, order, and structure. And we can consider about our home lives, what we've been growing, what we've been building since the summertime. Maybe it's a deeper connection with our partner or with our children that we need to be focusing on. Because during this full moon, like I said earlier, we also have Mars and Venus in the 10th house. 10th house is career and public role, and they're conjoining the sun. So a lot of our focus might be on achieving our goals. It is the new year. A lot of people have New Year's resolutions, or if not, just internal goals that they want to start off right with, like doing better in career or putting more focus in these parts of our life, so that way we can achieve the things that we want for ourselves and to be able to support our family. So this may be all tied into one thing. Since it's a full moon in Cancer, we may be focused on our family and trying to understand what we need to do for them to make sure they have all the things that they need. And that may be working harder or working more efficiently. Having Mars in the sign of Capricorn in the 10th house is in its exaltation place, best place it can be in the zodiac, because Mars can work efficiently and still work as Mars does, taking action in a quick, efficient manner, getting the things done that it wants to. So we want to make sure that we are taking these next few days, 3 days before the full moon, 3 days after the full moon, to be focusing on our own emotional well-being, the support of the people around us and our family, so that we can then have what we need internally, externally, to then focus on our goals and achieve them. For our Aries risings, moving forward to Taurus risings, you'll have this full moon in the third house of our day-to-day experiences. Day-to-day experiences or daily life, our neighbors. It can be correlated with our siblings. But this full moon can be a time of realization, a time of clarity. Importance that we need to be connecting more with the people that we're around, or realizing that we are connected with them, and that we may be finding importance in our own work and our endeavors, and that we need to make more time for our children, make more time to visit our siblings and connect with them. Because when we think about the opposition with Mars and Venus to the full moon, our actions are taking a lot of our time, right? The goals that we want to achieve are taken away from the things that we maybe need to focus on emotionally. So the full moon brings these things to light. We still want to consider the things that we've planted, the seeds we've been planting since the summertime. Maybe we've had creative endeavors we've been focusing on. Maybe we've been writing a book or creating a blog, and now's the time to focus on that. With Mars in the sign of Capricorn in our ninth house, maybe it's time to put these things forward and focus on them. But achieving our goals and making sure that we are 100% there can be very difficult if we're not emotionally intact, we're not emotionally stable, because our relationships aren't in order. So inviting you, Taurus, to take this time to focus on yourself for a moment and make sure your cup is full, so you can fill the cups of the people that are waiting for your talents and skills to be shared. We're going to move forward to Gemini rising, experiencing full moon in Cancer in the second house. You'll be experiencing this full moon in Cancer in the place of resources or livelihood. Can also be the house of self-worth. And thinking back to summertime, June 25th, that week there, maybe we were focusing on trying to get our finances in order or become more financially sound with our work endeavors. And now with the full moon here, there's a time of culmination. Maybe we're seeking emotional stability from our partner, because we want to focus here. We were thinking about that Jupiter in the second house as well. Jupiter is correlated with the seventh house of our one-on-one relationships, also our 10th house. So maybe these things are going hand in hand. maybe we're trying to connect deeper with our partner emotionally, but we're also very focused on our career endeavors and need to make sure we have our finances in order. Of course, emotional stability is very important and relational stability is very important, but we also need to have financial stability if we're going to be able to connect with our partner and support them and be there 100%. So, taking the opportunity to understand what we need for ourselves emotionally, and if we can get it from our partner, to have that conversation and connect with them. Having Mars and Venus in the eighth house in Capricorn is giving us the opportunity to understand possibilities of being able to make money in quick, efficient ways. Maybe the opportunities that have been blossoming since the summertime are showing themselves now. Maybe there's opportunities to work with others to make money in more efficient ways that are less stressful. So take all these things into consideration, Gemini rising, and we're going to move forward and check out Cancer risings who are experiencing this full moon in the first house. Now, Cancer risings who experience the full moon in the first house have an opportunity to see yourselves clearly. A lot of release. Sometimes I'll hear from Cancer risings that these are very emotional times. When the full moon comes up, it can be a big emotional release. And since Jupiter is also here in retrograde, it can be a time of understanding all the endeavors, the hard work that you've been putting forth towards something you've been trying to achieve, whether it's been for your own self-worth, your self-gain, or for the support and service of the people around you. Since we have Mars and Venus in the seventh house of one-on-one relationships, there could be some support that you may be seeking from your partner, or some different kind of connection that you may be moving towards. And since Mars is here, it can be very easy for you to have those conversations and connect with them. So as we move through this full moon, Cancer risings, take it a moment and ask yourself these questions. Am I giving myself what I need right now? Am I having the right conversations to receive what I need from my partners? Maybe it's my work relationships, the people I connect with on a one-on-one basis. And what have I been growing since the summertime? What have I been seeing in the mirror? And that has been changing up to this point. And now is it time for me to share that person who I've become? Take all these things in consideration, Cancer rising. We're going to look at Leo risings. Leo rising experiences this full moon in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house is the hidden place. It's the place that we don't see. The reason I always say that in our readings is because when we think about the first house, is correlated with the helm. We'll be placed in the first house. And when a sign or a house is right next to another, they can't see them. So the 12th house is hidden from our sight. That's why we correlate it with the subconscious mind. These are things that we have to go seeking for in meditation and solitude. So when there's a full moon in Cancer, it brings up the opportunity for us to gain insight through meditation, or maybe through dreams, or something that just might arise in our thought process. Since Jupiter is also here and been moving through here since summertime, there's an opportunity that we can also be receiving this insight through our creative projects, or through, if we have children, through looking at our children and seeing what we've imparted in them, how we've been raising them, because they are many versions of us. It's also important to notice that these experiences that we may be receiving can come right on time. So maybe we feel like we've been in a rush, or we've been working hard to no avail. Now's the time where it all pays off. Since we have Mars and Venus in that conjunction with the Sun in the sixth house of work, of service. This can show us that our daily efforts, our consistent efforts, may be paying off now. We may be able to find some more ease in our experience because we can work a little bit easier. We found a quicker or easier way to achieve our goal. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be physically easy, but we've gained some insight to move along with strength and vigor and have a more standardized plan, a more structure oriented plan. It can all come from this full moon. It can all come from something that we may have not necessarily known about ourselves when we began our project. So take all these things into consideration, Leo rising. Moving to Virgo rising, you get to experience the full moon in Cancer in the 11th house of acquaintances, good fortune. Having a full moon here in Cancer can show that a community that you may be a part of is changing, or the way that you show up in this community is changing. Maybe it's time for you to connect with them more emotionally available, or look at the connections that have been in your community since the summertime. Since Jupiter moved into the sign of Cancer for the new moon, there was a seed planted. Maybe this new community was one you joined in the summertime, and now you're coming into your skin. You're feeling more comfortable with being yourself and communicating in a way that is more like you, not just having a mask on to feel comfortable on the inside, but genuinely feeling comfortable to share with these people and connect with them. When we look across the way at the fifth house, we see that Mars and Venus are conjoining the sun. And not to mention your own chart ruler, Mercury, has just moved into the sign of Capricorn, which is correlated with the mind, of course. When we think about the fifth house, we look at it as the place of creativity. So maybe there's a creative, inspiring part of yourself that you've been holding back from this community, and now it's time for you to share this part of yourself. And since Mars is here in the sign of Capricorn, it may feel easy. Maybe you've been preparing since the summertime to share yourself in this way. So it can also have a lot to do with like your career as well. Maybe this is a community that you work with, and you've been preparing something, working on something, and now it's the time to share with these people, or propose an idea that can benefit all of you. Who knows? This is an opportunity for you to offer to somebody. Virgo risings. Moving to Libra rising, this is a full moon in the 10th house in Cancer. Once again, we look at the sign of Cancer as that nurturing mother archetype. And when we think about the 10th house, it is what we're seen for in the world. So maybe it is a part of our career to be of support to the people in our experience. Maybe we receive a benefit in this way. But we still have to understand that this full moon was once a new moon in the summertime. So when we think back to June, what were we building? What did we want to begin in our career? And when we come to now, we can look at this place of fruition, this birthing point where our career is now beginning to move in that direction. Of course, we still have Jupiter in a place of retrograde, so we may not be starting right away, but this is still that point where things begin to move forward. We begin to have those conversations, we begin to set those meetings, and we open the door to genuinely start those new things. When we focus on the fourth house, having the sign of Capricorn here with Mercury and Venus and Mars, we have the stellium in the fourth house, and we can understand that our place of living or our foundation is becoming more clear to us. We're finding out what it means to have a foundational structure that we can stand on, so that way when it comes time to fill the cup of the people we serve in our career, our cup is already full. We're already sound at home in our place of solitude. So take this full moon, Libra risings, as an opportunity to nurture yourself, the people you love, in order to support and serve the community that you're a part of, that you share to. Scorpio rising, we get the chance to experience this full moon in the sign of Cancer in the ninth house. Ninth house is higher learning. So we can think back to the summertime. In my own personal experience as a Scorpio rising, this was right before I went to go live in a monastery, where I learned a lot of very beneficial information for my own self and for others as well. So thinking back to that point, it was an opportunity to go and live and learn a tradition. And now coming to now with the full moon here, this culmination point, the seed was planted, and now this is the birthing process, where now here's the time for me to begin to share and teach what I've learned. And Jupiter, of course, is still retrograde, so things are being put into uh, action. And this is the ninth house, right? When we think about the third house, ninth house axis, this is like the communication axis, right? Third house is our day-to-day experiences. We can think about it as like journaling and writing, like maybe we're writing a book. When we think about ninth house, we think about broadcasting, online connections. So it's an opportunity for us Scorpio risings to create something online. Like maybe you're doing Zoom, or maybe you have a Patreon and you're sharing something that you've learned. This is an opportunity for you to understand what you need emotionally for yourself, so that way you can show up truly and genuinely as yourself. The great benefit of the third house here as Capricorn in your daily experiences with Mars here can show that the things that you plan to put forth can go very well in a very quick and efficient manner, as long as you choose to structure these things in a way that is beneficial for yourself. So for Scorpio risings, take these things into consideration and let us know what you create. Sagittarius risings have this full moon in Cancer in the 8th house. The 8th house of the esteem of others, how other people see us. I always like to talk about the 7th house when I speak about the 8th house, when we're talking about esteem of others, because I spoke about it earlier. When houses are right next to one another, they can't see each other, but we must understand that they are still connected. The 7th house of one-on-one relationships is connected to the 8th house of esteem. So when we look to the 8th house, it can be how our partner sees us. It is also how we make money from outside sources, or how we receive resources from other people. So the full moon here of emotional support, maybe we're looking for more emotional support from our loved ones and connecting with them. But we also have to understand that in order to receive, we must give as well. We must show that this is something that we need. So it comes from an understanding of communication, of connection. As Sagittarius risings, it's important to notice that your chart ruler, Jupiter, is in the 8th house. It's been here since June. So what was the thing that we've been working on since the summertime? What have we been trying to build so that way we can receive something? Maybe it's a better family connection. Maybe it's a connection with our parents, a connection with our children, a connection with our siblings. Whatever the case may be, this is an opportunity for us to begin moving in that direction, to begin connecting with these people and making sure that we are being seen for who we are, and sharing ourselves in a way to where we can receive what we really need. looking to the second house of our self-worth, our financial well-being as well. With Mars here, it can show and Venus here, it can show that the things that we've been focused on in this time frame of like the last month or so, have been pulling us away from focusing on our own emotional well-being or trying to connect with our families. So we need to make a balance. That's what this is about. When we look at those hard aspects such as oppositions, it's all about finding an equilibrium, like finding yourself in the middle of the rope, being able to support and focus on the things that you need to do, like the actions that we need to take in order to achieve our goals, but also making sure that our emotional structures and supports are taken care of, as well as our own internal emotions. So take all this into consideration, and we're moving forward to Capricorn risings. Capricorns are experiencing the full moon in Cancer in the seventh house. And we talk about the seventh house like a place of ending in traditional astrology, and full moons are also places of release or letting go. So we can see the seventh house as a relationship that you may need to be releasing or changing in. Just because something ends doesn't mean the person leaves. A relationship can be born again. The way that you communicate, the way that you feel and express yourself can change in relationship. Because the truth about it is that relationships don't really end, they just change. Maybe you never talk to the person again, but that relationship has the possibilities of still existing, right? Like the memories don't disappear. So it's important to notice that having the sign of having Jupiter in the sign of Cancer here, and that's been here since the summertime, can show that there is a connection with maybe a partner or a business partner that has been strongly impacting our daily experience, and it can be taking an emotional toll on us. So it's important for us to find some order in this place, in this connection, and communicate more efficiently, so that way we can gain the things that we need, that emotional support, that stability. Because when we think about supporting ourselves, because we have the stellium of planets in the first house of our own well-being, right, our self-expression, it's an opportunity here for us to find an even balance when it comes to taking care of ourselves and supporting the people that we're connected with. We have Mars here in its exaltation place in opposition to the moon, so it can show that we might be finding an easier way to take care of ourselves and have enough energy left over to support the people who we love, the people who are our emotional grounding. So remember all these things, Capricorn risings, and let us know which one is what you need to focus on. Aquarius risings, looking at this full moon in the sixth house in Cancer. The sixth house is the house where we make our daily efforts to achieve our goals, right? But when we think about Cancer in the sixth house, the nurturing mother, maybe it's supporting a family or showing a group of people love and care. Because when we think about Aquarius risings are very much people oriented or group oriented. Having that Jupiter here, that's been here since June 25th, can show that the seed was planted in the sixth house. There's been something we've possibly been working on. It could have been our health that we've been working on to make sure that we're healthy, to support the people around us, to take care of ourselves, or some sort of project that we have been creating in order to be of service to people. With the stellium of planets in Capricorn in the 12th house, there's something that we may need to be understanding about ourselves. And when we think about the 12th house, there are only a couple of ways where we can really understand the subconscious mind, and that comes from being in a place of solitude, really getting to understand the depths of ourselves, and finding people who we love and trust who can tell us the truth about ourselves, who can give us that real feedback. A lot of times when we ask people for feedback, people may be, I don't want to say scared, but may not want to hurt other people's feelings or hurt your feelings by telling you what can be seen as the truth, because the truth hurts sometimes. But if you're asking for the truth, if you're asking for the things that you need to see yourself clearly, you need people who are going to really give them to you. So when we have Mars and Capricorn in the 12th house and Venus in the 12th house, we can see that maybe it's a partner that can show us ourselves, or maybe it's a sibling, a neighbor, someone that we see on a daily basis who we can trust. So Aquarius risings, as you continue to work on yourself, or you continue to work on this project, notice that that even balance that you need to find. Looking at our last sign of the zodiac, we're looking at Pisces, who will experience this full moon in Cancer in the 5th house of creativity, and can also be correlated with children in this case. Usually when we think about Cancer in the 5th house, it's strongly correlated with being a mother, you know, like, or having that motherly archetype. Maybe something I create is beneficial to supporting others in a very nurturing and caring way. Sometimes art does that for people, you know. People can have a hard day and go look at paintings or listen to comedy or things that other people create, and it changes the way that you feel. It emotionally boosts us. So maybe this is a birthing point of something that we've been creating, Pisces, since the summertime. And that Jupiter here retrograde is still giving us that last internal nudge, right? Preparing us to launch these things. And when we look at the 11th house community and good fortune, we have Mars, Venus, and conjunct the Sun. And that Mars in its exaltation place in Capricorn, and its home away from home, that honored guest there, can show that there's a very, very supportive community that can help you create these things or bring these things into fruition that are going to be beneficial to said community and the people that you choose to share it with. So for Pisces risings, notice how this one is coming up in your experience, and to remember to keep that even balance of emotional structure and support while going ahead to take your actions and achieve these goals that you've been working on. That brings our horoscopes to an end. And if I could just leave you all with a couple of reflection points for this full moon in Cancer. Remember, everybody needs love, so it's important to love ourselves first. And when we can love ourselves first and find our own emotional bearings, we can have and hold space for the other people in our lives. Because when these full moons come around, you better believe that our connections may need support. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you haven't liked the video yet, please like the video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Thanks so much for coming. This is Casey with Aligned Astrology, and I'll see you next time.